This is the 2017 AP English and Language FRQ argument essay. We are down to our last 40 minutes. Hopefully we haven't had to borrow much time. If we have, hopefully we're only at about 38 minutes or so. We don't want to borrow so much time that we get down to 30 minutes here. That would be a no-no, okay? The argument essay, of course, this is where you get to draw from any prior knowledge, historical context, literature that you've read, current events, arts, music, popular culture, anything quite like that, even anecdote. Okay, so you really have a lot from which to draw when drafting your response to the argument essay. Something that's come up with the argument essay, and this happens sometimes in other aspects of the test as well, but usually it's most problematic here. What if there's a word or some terminology that you don't understand? That can happen. It's highly unlikely, but if that does happen, and I'm going to use today's prompt as an example, you're going to have confidence in your ability to make inferences from either the other context that's provided to you, or from the word itself, maybe looking for a root. Okay, so the passage below is an excerpt from Empire of Illusion by Chris Hedges. Read the passage carefully, then write an essay in which you develop a position on Hedges' argument that the most essential skill is artifice. Use appropriate specific evidence to develop your position. So we are developing a position on Hedges' argument that the most essential skill is artifice. What if you don't know what artifice means? That's okay. Very first thing we're going to do is read the context provided to us to see if we can figure it out. Okay. The most essential skill in political theater and a consumer culture is artifice. Political leaders who use the tools of mass propaganda to create a sense of faux intimacy with citizens no longer need to be competent, sincere, or honest. They need only to appear to have these qualities. So I'm just going to put fake. Most of all, they need a story, a personal narrative. The reality of the narrative is irrelevant, definitely fake. It can be completely at odds with the facts. The consistency and emotional appeal of the story are paramount. Those who are best at deception succeed. Fake. Those who have not mastered the art of entertainment, who fail to create a narrative or do not have one fashioned for them by their handlers, are ignored. They become unreal. Well, that's a paradox. That seems awfully strange that the real ones become unreal. An image-based culture communicates through narratives, pictures, and pseudo-drama. And so that is what we're being told is the artifice. So if you didn't understand what was meant by artifice, hopefully reading this context, you start to understand that they're talking about ways to be fake. Hopefully then you look at artifice and maybe you make a connection to this word, artificial, which maybe is a word you're more familiar with. Artifice by itself, of course, means any sort of clever or cunning that's used to trick people or to deceive them. Okay, and if you're being deceitful or deceptive, that goes right along with our word fake. Okay, so my purpose there was just to demonstrate for you how to use context and how to use your own inference skills to better understand a term that maybe you didn't know. Now, again, we are trying to take a position on Hedges' argument that the most essential skill is artifice. And then we were given examples of how both in politics and consumer culture, that's, material advertisements, purchasing, things like that, we're being explained that you have to use artifice both in politics and consumer culture. You have to make up stories. You have to provide pictures. You have to basically invent drama. Hello, today's reality TV. That would be a great thing to think about. But before I get into my ideas there, first we need to make sure we remember we are either defending, which means agreeing with Hedges, we are challenging, or we are going to qualify, which means, yeah, okay, somewhat true, but somewhat not true. Develop a position on his argument that's the most essential skill. I think I will probably qualify it. And the way that I'm going to qualify it, I'm going to say it may be used to be the most essential skill, but we are in the midst of a great change where people want the truth, the real truth, not the fake truth. And now I just have to have some ideas that I jot down to support this, okay? So let's go ahead and go to our planning page, and I'm gonna say qualify. And I think I'll just go ahead and jot down just a really rough working thesis. And I'm going to say, let's see, maybe, whereas artifice was once hailed as an essential skill, Hedges' argument lacks validity in today's society, where a thirst for truth and authenticity prevail. Okay, so there's my qualification. Actually, now that I write it out, it's less of a qualification and it looks actually more like a challenge, doesn't it? That's fine. I'm happy with this thesis, and I think that I've acknowledged basically the counter I've conceded that it used to be. But if you look at my thesis, it's no longer a qualification. So guess what? Easy fix. Challenge. Okay, be aware that that can happen. You might think that you're going to challenge or defend. You might think that you're going to qualify, and then the moment you start writing out your planning, you realize, hey, wait a minute. I think I'm actually on a different wavelength. That's fine. Don't struggle to change your thesis and try to beat it like it's a square peg trying to go into a round hole. Adjust your position. That's much easier, and it saves you much more time. Okay, so now that I've done that, I need to go ahead and figure out some ideas. What are some quick thoughts? We're tired of politics. We can even talk about in American politics how Donald Trump was elected to like clean out house because everyone was dirty and couldn't be trusted, right? It had turned into, I forget what the phrasing that he and his group have used, but essentially like the swamp. I think it might have been the swamp. But even then, you can talk about how that itself turned out to be artifice, and many of the campaign promises haven't happened, leading to lower ratings and increased dissatisfaction. So there's an example just using politics. You might talk about the beauty industry. There's really been a call for real models in recent years. I think it started with Dove campaigns showing real women's bodies and real men's bodies. And now we have models who have all different types of appearances. It's not just that same cookie cutter, which would be artificial. Not everyone looks the same. People have different skin tones. Some have freckles. Some have different like vitiligo, different pigmentations, things like that. So that would be a really powerful thing for us to look at. You might even look at the TV industry and how we are branching out. It's no longer just this perfect nuclear family. In sitcoms, you have families that are sharing custody. You have families with adoptive siblings or parents or things like that. There are a lot that you can draw from with the TV industry. You might even look at challenging some of the ideas of reality. And there has been quite a bit of backlash against reality TV because, I'm sorry if I'm ruining this for you, much of reality TV is actually scripted, okay? So there are just some different ideas there. One thing that I might acknowledge is that artifice is just tied to making money. That's all it is, okay? So once I've got some ideas down, actually I'm gonna put food industry too. Move towards organics. I think I might even use the Honest Company. Was that Jessica Alba, I think. So body paragraph number 1. I'm actually going to start with my concession and talk about how artifice used to rule. It's how we got different lifelong politicians. It's how we got Keeping Up with the Kardashians, shows like this, because people were so into artifice, Real Housewives, things like that. However, people soon fed up with the inundation of that which is fake, with the false. So I'm just going to put, they're tired of the false. And how do we see this? We see this in shifts in politics. And I might even quote, I don't know that I want to necessarily get partisan, so I don't think I'll say, you know, Democratic and Republican, because you don't want to isolate your reader. But instead, one of the things I might say, a shift in politics, is you're going to see incumbents who have been in office for years being voted out and replaced by opponents who maybe towns don't know much about, but they're ready for something real. They're tired of being promised things that aren't being delivered, things like that. So shifts in politics, probably going to be what I talk about here. And then I might even say that after the shifts in politics, that this is something that is happening in our media as well. And since I'm starting with a confession, I might even talk about advertising, because remember, if you look back, consumer culture is a part of this. And consumer culture, advertisements, are now trying to demonstrate what is real. I think a really strong example of this might actually be, I don't know if you guys recall, Cheerios. Cheerios company came out with an ad, oh Lord, maybe it was a year or so ago. And it was a family that was racially integrated. It wasn't all white, it wasn't all black. I think the mother was white, the father was African American, and the child was mixed. And this caused uproar, believe it or not. This caused a lot of uproar, and a lot of people were calling for Cheerios to pull the ad, and Cheerios did not pull the ad. Why? Because this is real. It is a reflection of many, many families throughout not just the United States, but the world. And it demonstrates that people want what is real. They want to see themselves reflected in their advertisements for products that they might use. Okay. All right. And that would be a great jumping point then to go over to body paragraph number 2, where we talk about what is authentic. Okay. So this is truth. Body paragraph 2 is authenticity. From the media, then we're going to say how this has sort of like a trickle down effect. And we might look at beauty industry and even the food industry. And again, might use the Dove example, food. I'm going to use like organic foods, how people want to know precisely what's in their food, the ingredients, things like that, where it was grown, where it comes from. And I think the word that I'm going to use here is that in modern society, there is a desire for what is called transparency. And that transparency cannot exist with artifice. Okay, and that's where I would probably pursue my line of thinking there. I would probably close by once again acknowledging, and if you look back at the prompt page, the last line there, that narratives, pictures, and pseudodrama are perfectly fine for entertainment, that contemporary society now yearns for something far more realistic, honest, and truthful when living their daily lives. So really the need for artifice has shrunk considerably. And that is an example of how we would plan a response for the argument prompt for the 2017 FRQ. Okay, good luck. Bye-bye.